Too often we're defined by the jobs we held and the roles we took on during our working life. Once that part of our life and that chapter is no longer there, who do we become? What choices are we making as to who we are going to be for the next 10, 20, 30, or even 40 years of our life? We're going to continue our conversation on that with George Jerjian on Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. In today's world, older adults face major transitions like downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes to age in place, all while embracing life after these changes. As a senior home advisor and seasoned realtor, Robin McCoy guides these decisions with care and thoughtful planning, helping create a vibrant future. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with me, your host, Robin McCoy.
This is taught by retirement coaches. There's a sense of, there's a transition. And in our culture, we don't have a ritual for transitions, right? When you're a student, you're an adolescent, before you go into adulthood and work, there's a kind of a rite of passage. Some people take a gap year. Well, from work to retirement, there is no gap year. There is no ritual, right?
It's that day, and then they go, okay, thanks for 20
and then
years.
You drop off a cliff. Yeah. And in a sense, I've been there, and I retired early because of my illness, that bone tumor. And then that woke me up, and I sort of semi-retired, so I could do the things I wanted to do, but I couldn't retire completely because finance is important.
Sure.
But when I got teaching my course, which I'll talk about in a minute, I realized that people need to take a gap year. And a gap year is not 12 months. It's 2-3 months. I took 80 days. I went around the world in 80 days.
Oh, my goodness.
Because I loved that book when I was a kid. Always wanted to travel the world in that way, but life got in the way. And here was an opportunity for me to do it, but all the inner dialogue, the inner voices in my head were saying too much money, too much time, you're being daft, you're being stupid, you're being childish.
You're being selfish. What are you doing?
Yeah. All those.
It's dangerous.
Oh, yeah. What happens if you fall and break your leg? How are you going to get back home? All the negative talk in a monologue. I had to fight those demons. So I started looking, where could I go? Where could I travel? Literally around the world. And the more I got into this, the more excited I got, the more energized I got. I go, this is feeling good. I'm going to trust my instinct, my feelings, which is not what we normally are trained to do. We're trained to be logical, fearful, stay in your box, don't try put your head above the parapet.
Self-preservation, right?
But, life is a risk. Every day is a risk. When we've been trained to reduce risk, to mitigate risk to the point where we stop living. And in a sense, I think our generation of boomers, our job is to break that. We've broken so many barriers throughout our lives. We've come to the last hurdle and we start to chicken out. And that's a big mistake because,
because our longevity is so much longer, right? And we get to 60, just call it 60 for round numbers, used to be, you may have had 10 or 15 years left. Now we've got 40.
Well, this is it.
What are you going to do with 40 more years?
Well, here's the thing, though, right? This is where my argument starts to make sense. Just throwing the 4 years. I never went that far with 40, but let's just say you got 40 years. Right? Seriously, 40 years. And these are the years when, statistically, everything's going to start going wrong with us. Mm-hmm. So what do? Batten down the hatches, play it safe, and slowly drift into oblivion. Right. Listen, we're all going to go. Isn't it better to go out with a bang and enjoy your life till your last breath, however that may come? We don't know our date of death or how we're going to go. I mean, I've seen two parents who essentially played it safe. They both got dementia and Alzheimer's for 10 years. Do I want that? Absolutely not. I do not want that. And so I've kind of really got into this because I want to make my life meaningful, enjoyable. I may not make the money I was making before. I may not have the title I had before. But I have that sense of I'm able to jump out of bed in the morning because I love what I'm doing. And at some point, I'm going to get paid for this. Serious money. Because I've invested such good stuff, which leads me to the next part of your question about the DARE method, which encapsulates what I've just been talking about, Robin. DARE is another word for courage. Courage is not something that lies in our heads. It lies in our hearts. It comes from the Latin word cor, for heart. So in a sense, we need to get ourselves courage. We have to have the courage to live the life we want to live, that we desire to live, and stop listening to the voices in our heads that stop us from doing all the things that's going to give us what we need. You need courage. That's why DARE. But DARE is also an acronym for discover, assimilate, rewire, and expand. I recognize that this whole topic of life after retirement is such a huge elephant. You have people touching different parts of the elephant thinking that's the whole problem, and it needs to be, but it's actually much bigger. And so what I try to do is to say that I don't know the answers to everything, but what I do know is I can help you with the process for you to find the answer for yourself. And in that way, I'm helping people to find their own way of navigating through this change, through this transition. So D is discover what retirement is and what it is not. So I studied the history of retirement, who started it, why, what was the motivation, why has it become such a big industry, and where this is going. Mm-hmm. And when you understand the history of this, right, I won't need to tell you or explain to you what this is about because you'll reach your own conclusions. A is for assimilate. Assimilate new information about how our mind works. Most people have no idea that our subconscious mind, the programming since childhood, our education, our experiences, the programs in our minds are what block us from moving forward. Yep. Now, a lot of programs are good, so you don't want to touch them. Things like digestion or walking or sleeping. Those are things you don't touch, right? Because they work. The ones that are sabotaging us are things like you're too old to learn. It's over. Accept it. Right? These are things that
you're not
heard.
As fast as you used to be. You're not as strong as you used to be.
Yeah. But guess what? You're absolutely right if you believe that. And no one can argue with you. Mm-hmm. It's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A fixed mindset says, mm-hmm. I can't do this. A growth mindset says, I can't do this yet. That pivots you to a new opening in the door. So that's what Assimilate is helping you to understand, that no one out there is blocking our way. I can't find a job. Nobody wants to employ me. I'm too old. I'm going to say this. There is an element of truth in that. But if you believe it, you're confirming it, and you're not going to find a job.
Right.
And my argument to you is that you don't need to find a job. Find something you love to do. The job will find you. There's not enough good people to hire out there.
The money will follow if that is in fact what, the money will follow if that is in fact what is intended.
Exactly. So it's about this, about rewiring your brain, which brings me to the R of DARE. It's about rewiring. The minute you say, I can't do this, you've manifested that, you've confirmed it, and you're absolutely right. And I'm not going to argue with you. It's a lost cause.
That's right.
right? But if you have an open mind saying, I can't do this yet, but I'm happy to listen and keep an open mind and I want to try things out. And you know what? There's nothing wrong in trying and failing because it's leading you to where you should be. Okay?
Yes.
So again,
Yes.
our egos, right? Because of who I was when I was a CEO or who I was when I was, manager or whatever. These are all constructs. It's not you.
Yeah.
These are constructs. And you're much more than that. You've just made yourself small to fit into that hole so you can have a job. So, blow it open. Don't be afraid because you've got nothing to lose anyway.
That's right. You
already
don't have a job.
You don't have a job. And,
You don't have a job already.
So here's the thing. What do you have to do to get a job? Don't look for the job. Go in. What is it I want to do? What is it that gives me joy? Right? If you're working at a job that doesn't pay huge amounts of money, but you end your day feeling like, I've met a lot of people, I've served them, I feel good. Hey, why don't you like that? And if you do that job really well, people will come to you because businesses can't find the right people. So they employ what they have to find, whatever they can find. But if somebody stands out like a diamond because he's brilliant at what he does and he enjoys it and he or she infects people with joy because they're so good at what they do, why wouldn't you want to hire somebody like that?
That joy feeds other people, right? So now you've got somebody that is great at relationships, right? And that just feeds to the other people around them. So now they become better.
Absolutely.
And we all start rising with the tide, right?
And I'm only talking as from my perspective, from my small lens. Other people have got other skill sets and stuff that require a different type of temperament and personality, equally valid, where you can use the same philosophy to turn it around. And the last letter, E, is for expand. And expand is because with another 20 or, as you said, 40 years to go, oh my goodness, this is not a time to shrink and make the sandbox smaller and smaller and smaller until you fall into it. It's about expansion. And the same applies in our financial planning. Retiring at 60, 65, you're supposed to go into cash and bonds. No, with another 20, 30 years to go, you should still be in equities and growth stuff. The formula has changed. Longevity has effectively snapped the retirement equation. So it's about mindset change, right? And final point on expand, I use gratitude because, and again, I studied about gratitude back in, I think it's just before the Second World War, a German philosopher called Martin Heidegger found that there is a connection between the word thinking and thanking that goes back to the old German, old English word, thank, T-H-A-N-C. There's actually, and the reason is that if somebody is not thankful, they're not really thinking.
Interesting.
Think about that. If they're not thankful for what they have, they are not thinking. And that's why it's so important to literally do these exercises where you write all the things you're grateful for in your life. Your family, your spouse, your partner, whatever. Just list them out. And you'd be surprised that so many things that you should be thankful for, even down to your phone, which connects you to everything. And people think, oh, it's just another item. No, it's your lifeline to everything that you do.
It is now, isn't it?
And aren't you grateful when you lose it and find it again immediately? Oh, thank God.
Yes. And aren't you panicking when you can't find it?
Well, precisely, yeah.
And it's between the cushions on the sofa?
So, being thankful is really important because it expands your mind. And by that, just give you an example. You find these people who, I'm not going to quote anyone. No, I'm not going to quote anyone. You find people who have everything. They own so much of everything that any human could possibly want, and yet they're still miserable as a dog.
Yeah.
And the reason is because they're not grateful. They're waiting for the next fix to be happy. And people who have very little will even share what they have because they're grateful. It's a state of mind.
We Are One Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to bridging the gap between the needs and resources of low-income seniors and veterans. Rooted in compassion and love, our mission is to provide housing, living assistance, and access to critical resources that ensure dignity and support for the elderly in underserved communities. At the heart of We Are One Heart's work is the belief that every individual shares a common humanity, a heart connected through love and care. We are committed to creating a future that honors those who have shaped the past by offering programs and services that enhance their quality of life. For more information or to donate, visit wa1h.org. That's wa1h.org.
So that's what the DARE method is. I've created this method so that it's easy to explain, easy to understand, and easy to kind of follow through. But as I said, that's kind of like the skeleton. And I get my clients or would-be clients to go through this using their own life experience and stuff so that they can create their own new life plan, as it were. And that's a working document, which they will work with because they'll be trying different things. Some people find it very quickly. Some people take a long time. I'm a slow learner. So what's the word for it? I created my program on my own experience. And why would anybody want to do my program? Well, you can do it the way I did it and take 9 years, or you can do it in 8 weeks. It's your choice.
It's your choice. Well, and I think it gives a, I was saying this the other day that we plan for our children, we plan our wedding, we plan our marriage, we plan, raising kids and sending them to college and our careers, and we plan a vacation and we plan all these things. And then all of a sudden we hit 65 and we have no plan. Now what? And this DARE method kind of helps people formulate that plan of what is, what's next. And we aren't taught how to do that, or we're not talked about. I mean, we talk about planning, like make sure you have enough money, make sure you have a will, make sure, that kind of planning, but not the actual living of the life planning.
Yeah. Well, in a sense, humanity hasn't been here before. This is kind of new.
That's true.
And that's why we're kind of flying from the seats of our pants. But because I've been through this, my sort of decoupling from the working world was at the age of 52. So I've had enough time. I had 10 years of semi-retirement. I hated it with a passion. And then I unretired. I spent 30 days in a silent retreat to get rid of all the noise, outside noise.
Wow.
So I could go in on an inner journey and meet my real me, not the one that I have formulated and chiseled.
Sure.
The facade, the persona that I was is not who I am now.
Right.
But that part of me, that old George had to go. He wasn't fit for purpose anymore. And for me, the grieving was I'd spent so many years chiseling, making him brilliant. He was, he had all the right clothes, all the right stuff. And now, gone. He's a shell of who I was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well, and I think that's, the moral of this is you saw that, you went through it, and now you found who is on the other side. Who's George now, right? And no longer have to grieve the old George.
Correct. But occasionally
Right?
he comes
I was
through.
an educator. I was all these things. I was. And now spending time on who I am.
Yes.
And I would imagine that the people in your life around you who knew old George for all those years, now new George comes out from this, from the,
But he's evolved.
Whatever
Robin.
we want to call it. And like, who is this guy?
Well, for a lot of people, they saw my evolution. So it wasn't a terrible shock. I think first they thought I'd gone doolally, but well, because it upsets people that you know when you change.
Yes.
People get frightened
because they've got you in their own box over here, right?
Yeah, and suddenly
This
you're
is how
coming out of
I
that box.
Have you?
Yeah, and now you're
Because
disturbing.
that changes me. It changes. Yeah, because now I got to be different around you, and I don't want to be different.
Absolutely. Well, that's another reason. Now, those who are meant to remain in your life will, and those who are meant to drop off will too. And and the thing that you have to be really careful about here is don't be angry or dislike the people who drop out of your life. In a way,
I think that's important.
you send love to them because they've got a different journey they're on, okay? And they've been on a journey with you. This is, if you look at it in this philosophical way, none of the negative energies come out that actually become stumbling blocks for you. If you have ill feelings towards people because they've dropped out of your life, it's a toxin. It'll impact you, not them. So you don't want to be in that place. You want to release that. You want to give them your blessing that they're leaving. And in a way, they've outlived their usefulness in your life, and you've outlived your usefulness in their lives. And if you look at it in that balanced way, you're grateful for the journey that they were on with you for the time that they were.
Yeah.
That's the language
I say to
myself.
People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Exactly.
A reason, a season, or a lifetime. And that's okay. And when you recognize that, you can give that relationship grace and honor it for what it was while it was the season.
Yes.
For that relationship. And now you can keep the fond memories of it so that when you go back and tell stories, it's with joy and not, sadness or anger or frustration because that season ended.
And I say that not because I'm wise, but I went through that. I got angry with some of them.
Sure.
And then you sort of learn, actually, you know what? It was just meant to be this way. Accept it. Don't fight it. This is the thing about going with the flow, because all these things, these changes, especially at our age, is very destabilizing. And, the grieving process is also illogical. So you can't look at it logically. You've got to look at it from the emotional side. And I speak this for men more than for women. Men really struggle with this. And also men, when they get to retirement age and they're not prepared for the next stage, their ego is compromised and they don't know how to deal with the ego death. And that's a big, big deal. Women have a slightly different take on this, I find. First of all, 70% of my followers are women because they get it. But they get it because their circumstances are different. Women don't just have friends at work. They have friends at home. They have friends at school for their kids. They've got bigger circular communities in a Venn diagram. And so they are more flexible. Men are more brittle because of the circumstances they're in. They have work, There's a rigidity to their work-home life balance. Women are more adaptable. And I speak generally here, by the way.
Sure.
It's not always the same for everybody. But so men have a bigger challenge, I think, than women. But of course, if you're a woman and you're a CEO, you're going to have the same problems as a man.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
You're in that power
and it all just comes with who was that? Who were you, and how are you going to transition out of that, right? And I think that's why that plan becomes important.
Totally.
As you get to that, you get to that point, now it's time to like, okay, who am I going to be when I'm not going to this office every day, or I'm not doing whatever that looks like?
Yeah.
Now I need to know ahead of time, because I'm going to be stuck on this island. And as you said, drift aimlessly and restlessly for, 8 or 9 years. And then are you going to like get it together and find your purpose? Or are you just going to just continue to wander, or just seclude yourself in your home and watch TV all day?
Yeah.
And
no, you're absolutely right. And Robin, the thing is with the topic of this journey, I used to think that you could actually, maybe follow somebody and they could tell you how to do this. Nobody can tell you what to do in this stage of life. Guess why? You're no longer children or adolescents. You're a mature adult, and it's the hardest thing to do.
Freedom of choice.
But people don't want freedom. They're scared, I'm going to use the word shitless, of freedom, because freedom means you have to make decisions. You have to make serious decisions about your life. Decisions means cutting out things that no longer serve you. And it terrifies people. People would rather say, tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. I want to feel safe. You can't. There's no security. So why not take life by the neck and do something with your life? And when you have... And here's the thing. The challenge is to be yourself. Another thing that terrifies people. It takes a while to find yourself, because we have so many masks. We have masks for our parents. We have masks for friends, for our children. We have, I think psychologists say that, each human has up to 30 masks. Wow. So go figure. And your authentic self is hidden below that. So go ahead and chisel now, because you've got to...
Go ahead and start breaking some of those up right now.
You've got to break some of those up. And it's doable. It's doable. But that's why also, again, you need courage to do that. But nobody's coming to save us, as the Hopi Indians used to say. We're the ones we've been waiting for. And as boomers, we're kind of natural-born changers.
Well, I think we are. It's funny. You see these things on Facebook of how it used to be. Like, before we just went and did what we did and nobody knew about it. And we just prayed everybody kept their mouths shut, So, and now everything is just out there. And so we've got all these things to compare ourselves to.
Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy.
And then we worry. We worry about what our children are going to think. Oh my gosh, if I sell this house and I run off to go around the world in 80 days, what are people going to think? They're going to think I've lost my mind. Are my kids going to try and get guardianship of me because I've lost my mind?
Well,
but all these things go on in people's heads. And that's those masks, right? That's the stuff that's got to be chipped away.
Yeah. I think one of my mentors, Bob Proctor, used to say, what other people think is none of our business. Mm-hmm. That's such a beautiful saying. I mean, that is like, we
learned that phrase a few years ago, and it's very freeing.
It's very freeing.
when you really embrace it and say, you know what, I'm pretty cool. If you don't think so, that's on you, not me.
Yeah, I mean, we rely so much on what other people think to help us direct our lives. And again, I think it's programming from childhood. We were taught to a great extent not to trust our own intuition and instinct, but to rely on what our parents have told us is right and wrong, which, I'm not saying is a bad thing, but, well, when you're a child, you do as a child. But when you're an adult, wake up. You got to change the way you think, right?
Well, and you can't, who you are and what you believe, and getting really to kind of that core is you were raised one way, and that's because the beliefs of those that raised you and in the environment in which you were raised.
Yes.
And then, like you said, as an adult, now, is that still your belief? Now you've gone out into the world. You've lived another 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We are an ever-evolving being, and we're in an ever-evolving environment.
Yes.
So just because that's what you always believe doesn't mean you can't change your mind. Oh, I shouldn't. I mean, when in my 50s, I left by myself to go walk across the Camino in Spain.
Oh, wow.
Everybody thought I had lost my mind. You're going alone? First, why would you want to do that? Once that was one thing. But then the shock of a female in her 50s going by herself.
But now there's many who are doing now.
Onto me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in a sense, when you recognize that, as in your case, going on the Camino on your own, that is actually a big deal. And
what's a big deal?
What you do for the people around you, family and friends, is it terrifies them not just because you are going, it terrifies them because you are now forcing them to start to question things, which really they're not comfortable and they're not ready to do that. And I think it comes back to understanding where they're coming from and not judging them, because we were there at some point, right? So just accepting them that's where they are at the moment. But when you do it and you come back to alive to narrate it, and
to tell the story.
They might think, ooh, I want to do something like that. But again, you see what they're thinking. They're thinking
if Robin can do it, so can you.
But my question to them would be is, why are you trying to copy Robin? Why don't you find something you want to do that excites you and gets your juices flowing? Why don't you try that? And that's going to give you even more joy.
That. Well, that's one of the things when I do presentations or talk about things, when I use the Camino as my, just as the kind of the venue or the catalyst to say, go find your Camino. What is your Camino? Is it starting a business? Is it, I don't know, getting in an RV and traveling the country? What is your Camino? Go find that and don't worry about what other people think about it.
Absolutely correct. I agree with that completely.
Well, if you could say one thing to the people that may be listening to this, if you could either whisper something in their ear or, share one thing on somebody that may be approaching this or in the middle of it, kind of in the middle of it, what would you want that to be?
A quote comes to mind. One of America's poet laureates. Oh my God, I've forgotten her name. Anyway, she said, and the question is, what will you do with your one wild and precious life? What will you do with your one wild and precious life? You don't have all the time you think you have.
No,
so
you don't.
Grab it. What are you going to do with it?
I love that.
All right.
Well, I want to thank you so much for this conversation. I didn't really know where it was going to go.
Neither did I.
And this has been so great and so wonderful. And you've really got me thinking about, just what am I going to do with the rest of my one good wild life? And, what am I going to do for the next 40 years?
Well, I don't think you're very far off what you like to do.
No, but you've said a couple of things and it kind of resonated with me about what is the next thing, right?
Yes.
What is the next thing? What is it that I'm being drawn to that I'm just not doing?
Yeah.
For whatever, is going on back here, the programming that's going on back here. So you may have unplugged a couple of things. Watch out.
Well, Robin, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to, I know this is just going to be so good for so many people. And I just really appreciate you being here with me today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Robin.
So,
I've enjoyed it because I wasn't expecting it this
joy.
way. Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
It's been a joy. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60, where we talk about all things after 60. So make sure you share and like and subscribe and all those good things. And we'll see you on the next episode of Relax, I Got This. Thank you for joining me on Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. I know that time is our greatest asset, and I appreciate the time that you spend with me. If you're finding the information on this podcast useful, please subscribe to the channel on your favorite platform so that you never miss another episode. Don't forget to go to our website where you will find additional resources, downloads, and coaching programs. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60.